The question that would be put on the ballot in November 2022 ask, are you in favor of amending the Constitution of Kentucky by creating a new section of the Constitution to be numbered Section 26A to state as follows: to protect human life, nothing in this Constitution shall be construed to secure or protect a right to abortion or require the funding of abortion. If Kentucky voters approve the amendment, the state's constitution would then preempt any court ruling, And so what? What's the point? The point is this: Section 26A, to protect human life. Nothing in this constitution shall be construed to secure or protect a right to abortion or require the funding of abortion. Just one sentence. They're just asking, hey, Kentucky people, do you want to add one single sentence, one singular sentence to the Constitution about not securing a right? This goes to the Bill of Rights. And so let's take a look at the Bill of Rights of Kentucky real quick. Let's see. In Kentucky, you have a right to life and liberty. You have a right to worship Almighty God. You have a right to safety and happiness. You have a right to freely communicate your thoughts and opinions. You have a right to acquire, protect property. You got a right to peacefully assemble and petition, address, and remonstrate. You have a right to bear arms in defense of themselves and of the state. Absolute and arbitrary power over the lives, liberty, and the property of freemen exists nowhere in the Republic. So no absolute and arbitrary power. All power is inherent in the people. Freedom of religion. Elections shall be free and equal. Trial by jury shall be held sacred. Printing presses shall be free to every person who undertakes to examine the proceedings, the prosecutions for the publications of papers. The people shall be secure in their persons, houses, papers, possessions from unreasonable search and seizure. No warrant shall issue. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused have a right to be heard by himself and counsel, to demand the nature and cause of the accusation against him, to meet witnesses face to face. So basically a bunch of freedoms and rights, right? A bunch of constitutional legal freedoms and rights. You have, let's see, double jeopardy. The courts are open for everybody, and it shall be administered without sale, denial, or delay. All prisoners should be bailable. Excessive bail is not required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel punishment inflicted. The person of a debtor, where there is not a strong presumption of fraud, shall not be continued in prison after delivering up his estate, for the benefit of his creditors, in such a manner as to be prescribed by law. So a lot of good freedoms. A lot of good freedoms. Not only do they get the American freedoms in Kentucky, but they get all the freedoms in their own Bill of Rights. Now, 23, Section 24, 26, slavery is forbidden except for as a punishment for crime. So slavery is still legal in Kentucky. Big shocker there, huh? Immigration from the state shall not be prohibited. So if you want to get the hell out of Dodge, you're allowed to, according to Section 24. Section 26 says, to guard against transgression of the high powers which we have delegated, we declare that everything in this Bill of Rights is accepted out of the general powers of government and shall forever remain inviolate, and all laws contrary thereto or contrary to this Constitution shall be void. Really, you should ask yourself, why is it Section 26A? It's 26A because it's not a freedom. It's taken away your right to an abortion, but it's also taken away your implied right to privacy too. So it should be Section 26. If they were adding a freedom to the Bill of Rights, they would have said this is Section 27. But instead it's Section 26A because it's an exception to your rights. You have all these rights and freedoms, and you've had all these rights and freedoms which they knew, you know what, back in 1780, however long they've done, you know, they've had these rights. And now we're just going to add 26A. Abortion is, and then let's compare and contrast some of the other states. You have, was it Vermont that's saying that do you have a right to personal reproductive autonomy? And then let's take a look at Alaska. You actually literally have a right to privacy in Montana, Alaska, and another state. So there's the right to privacy, the United Nations. So I think that's not just found in nature, it's found in natural man. Natural man is rational man. And so what is the nature of rational man? So 26A is a theocracy. Kentucky, several states are actually going backwards when it comes to this, initiatives. They're using democracy against the people. It's fucking bullshit. Arkansas has a initiative question about foregoing the general laws in order to make government burden of free exercise. Arkansas issue 3. I'm just going to read it verbatim from Ballotpedia here. But it's a yes or no question. Arkansas issue number 3. Government burden of free exercise of religion amendment. The measure would amend the state constitution to provide that the government cannot burden a person's freedom of religion, including burdens resulting from a rule of general applicability. A rule of general applicability, that's a law. So they're saying the criminal code, except that if the government demonstrates that the burden is necessary to further a compelling government interest using the least restrictive means of furthering that interest. So they're saying the right to religion means you get to break the general common law of Kentucky or of Arkansas. You get to break the criminal code of Arkansas in order to say, hey, and then what the police has to do is they have to, they have the right to do their religion thing, but I am, you can't hurt people. You could break some of the laws, but you can't break all the laws. So what's the test? The test is this, that the burden is necessary to further a compelling government interest using the least restrictive means of furthering that interest. The measure would allow a person to cite this amendment as a claim or defense in a judicial, administrative, or other proceeding to obtain relief against the government. The measure provides that free exercise of religion means the exercise of religion under 24 of Article 2 of the Arkansas Constitution, which provides that all men have a natural and indefeasible right to worship Almighty God according to the dictates of their own consciences. No man can of right be compelled to attend, erect, or support any place of worship or to maintain any ministry against his consent. No human authority can in any case or manner whatsoever control or interfere with the right of conscience, and no preference shall be given by law to any religious establishment, denomination, or mode of worship above any other. The amendment would be named Arkansas Religious Freedom Amendment. Okay, so Representative Jimmy Gazaway, Republicans, the amendment sponsor, says there may come a day when you wish you had these protections in the Arkansas Constitution. Why? Because stronger protection for religious freedom, because it would have to be proven that the government was burdening religious liberty, not that it was a substantial burden. Mary Bentley, Republican, said, we have executive branches come and executive branches go, and I don't want an executive branch that changes our law. Governors have really done things to infringe on people's religious freedoms, and I don't want that to happen in the future. Allison Gill, Vice President of Legal and Policy Matters of American Atheist, said there were at least 4 major ways of harmful legislation propagated in 2021. Anti-trans youth legislation, religious exemptions to COVID-related public health protections, broad denial of care bills, and bills that undermine abortion access. Religious Freedom Restoration Act measures at the state level create a limited exemption from the state laws whenever religious organizations say that their activities are burdened. Okay, it's too long. Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, Republican, declared a state of emergency. Okay. What's this got to do with evil? Why are people evil? I'll tell you why people are evil. People are evil because they're sadistic, because they want power, because they're small and insecure. Oh, you're small and insecure? Hey, I respect you just because you're here. No, you respect me because you're afraid of me. No, I respect you because you're on this planet. No, because you're afraid. You're evil, right? Because you're small, you're insecure. Your love of cruelty, sadism, power, sadism, love of cruelty, love of meanness towards other, jealousy. Evil can come from jealousy. Evil can come from a lot of things. The reason why I'm thinking about, let's read this list. Evil can't empathize. Empathy's too hard. Sadism, to exploit others, to have a little tiny tinge of power, because they're dead on the inside. They're evil or dead on the inside. The life has been beaten out of them. It's too hard to think. It's too hard to be a human. Just be a beast. Love and patience, having virtues. It's too hard. It's too hard to have love and patience and virtue in your heart. It's too hard to choose goodness and to pursue goodness. People don't know how to communicate. People don't know how to persuade others. So it's just easier to be awful and violent than empathetic and understanding. And they're scared. And maybe it's fun. Maybe it's fun. So the reason why I was thinking about that is just having a philosophy of evil is good. Jordan Peterson says, if you're traumatized by evil, people doing evil things, you need to come up with a philosophy of evil, because you're basically not understanding how people could hurt other people. People can hurt other people because they don't give a shit. They don't have a conscience. They haven't chosen goodness. It doesn't hurt them to be bad. In fact, it's what they do. It's what they like. So, Arkansas issue 3, right? Oh, okay. So the religious folks want to break the law. Hey, we're just doing religion here. We get to break the law a little bit. What do you mean? What do you mean? Yeah, okay. Kentucky they said it was seceded after the Civil War. A lot of racism. When I think about evil, I'm thinking about all the reasons why. Why did Kentucky kill the black people, before the Civil War? Why did all those black people get killed? What were the reasons? And then the lynchings. You had a bunch of lynchings that happened after the Civil War, too. And so the reason why Kentucky black folks that got lynched, it wasn't because of anything they had done. Few of them actually committed crimes that they had to pay for. Most of them were just confident. They were dandies. They dressed in a nice way. They were confident. They stood tall. So if you were a black person in Kentucky after the Civil War, so slavery is illegal now, lynching is on the rise, and you're a dandy, you're dressed well, you're confident, you're standing tall, well, the insecure white person was, they didn't like that. The small, insecure white person, they're sadists. They wanted to also contemplate a black person in Kentucky got killed because he was contemplating an attack on a white woman. How the hell can you even tell if somebody is contemplating an attack? The expression on their face. Hey, what kind of expression do you got on your face? Were you thinking about attacking her? She did throw a whole bunch of chickens at me. I think you're being a Hector projector. You're being a Hector projector there. My God, just basically making up a bunch of crap. They just didn't like black folks. Jim Crow, was dominant. And being a Republican, some black folks were just registered Republicans. They weren't even, too powerful or too wealthy, but because they wanted to vote, because they wanted to be a part of the civic engagement, because the KKK Democrats, the Democrats were the one that founded the KKK. The Republicans are the ones that saved black folks, are the ones that liberated black folks under Abraham Lincoln. You have the KKK Democrats, which are a bunch of racist, sons of bitches. A bunch of racist sons of bitches who now don't have any power. And these, Republicans have come over and taken over, and now they're letting black folks register. That's just too much for some of these racists. And so just being a Republican, just being a dandy, just being confident and tall and dressing nice, contemplating an attack. That's basically you just hate the person and you're coming up with an excuse. It reminds me of an Aesop fable, the wolf and the lamb. The wolf just kept making up excuses until eventually he ate the lamb. Why? He wanted to eat the lamb to begin with. It had nothing to do with anything the lamb had done. You were contemplating attacking my white woman wife, haven't you? You wish you were. Jealousy is a Why are people evil? Because of jealousy. They hate us because they ain't us, right? Small, insecure people. They hate us because they ain't us. You had in Louisville, the riots had destroyed the business district. So registering to vote, strong black man. They don't want the black man to have wealth and power. The racists in Kentucky, this is back, in the day. But this is history, and it's important because we're talking about Kentucky today. So just having a tinge of power would freak out the white supremacist. Didn't you have a right to vote? And it's just a tiny bit of power. What is you got a skosh of influence? Why would that freak out the insecure white man? Because either A, he didn't vote, he doesn't understand his civic duty. It wasn't important for him until he saw the black man doing it. And it looks smart. And again, he's dressing nicer. He used to, be less than. He used to be a second-class citizen. And now he's walking around like he's one of us, dressing in our clothes, going to our schools, going to our shops. No, he's contemplating an attack on a white woman. No, he just whistled at a white woman. No, that was just a lie. We made it up, but who cares? It's the wolf and the lamb. It's the wolf and the lamb. So jealousy. Jealousy's a motherfucker. That's Cain and Abel. That's, there's actually a presence of justice in the Bible. So to Jordan Petersons of the world, you had Cain had killed Abel, but then Cain is made to, wander the earth forever and ever. And then you also had Adam and Eve had the, best damn wondrous Garden of Eden, one of the greatest, gifts ever, just a wondrous Garden of Eden. Just don't do one thing, and then they broke that one rule, and now they don't get, the wondrous Garden of Eden anymore. So I think weakness, insecurity, wickedness, if they're wicked themselves, if they haven't committed to goodness, if they didn't see the absurdity of wickedness, how long do you think you could be wicked? How long do you think you can bully and terrorize people until eventually that comes back to bite you? That doesn't make any sense. People are resentful of that. You give them the option. If they say no, then you have to walk away. You have to respect people's autonomy. So that's another reason to be evil. You don't want to respect people's autonomy. You don't want to have to convince them of anything. But God, if we're going to be good capitalists, we have to convince people to buy our goods, not say, Section of 18B, depositions in felony cases. This is Missouri. Upon hearing and finding by the circuit court in any case wherein the accused is charged with a felony, it's necessary to take the deposition of any witness within the state other than defendant and spouse in order to preserve the testimony on condition. Okay, What else is going on here? I got a lot of idioms that I was supposed to spit out here. So when it comes to Kentucky is going backwards. Kentucky's trying to be a Handmaid's Tale. They're trying to have a dystopian, a theocracy dystopian nightmare. Kentucky, Arkansas, Tennessee too. There were several of them. Several of them were actually doing this. West Virginia wants to incorporate their churches because that's the problem with West Virginians. It's not, the rain and farming, and it's not the poverty rate and the housing and the homeless and nothing like that. No, sir-ree, Bob. We'll do Boris's final speech next, and we'll end it off with that. Jumping Jack Flash. Look at Boris. Where the hell's Boris Johnson been? When it comes to what Diderot had said of Voltaire, the reason why Voltaire teach history is to teach a hatred in people's heart of tyranny, lying, ignorance, hypocrisy, and superstition. The superstitious. That's one of the 5 terrible goddamn vices that Voltaire was teaching all of history to make sure you have a hatred of those 5 vices. Superstition. We don't need these damn theocracies. Kentucky on abortion is going to reduce freedom. You have Arkansas. You're increasing the right to religion, but you're going to decrease all the other rights in order to do so. West Virginia. What is West Virginia trying to, what's the language of this? West Virginia churches to incorporate. You think it'll come up with those West Virginia churches incorporate? Incorporation of religious domination in churches. Ballotpedia seems to be the only people that are talking about the democracy in America. State Senate approves resolution that would let West Virginia churches become corporations. What? It's a yes or no vote. Hey, West Virginia. You want Joe Manchin again? Okay, West Virginia. Hey, West Virginia. This is the title of the ballot is to authorize the incorporation of churches or religious denominations. The constitutional changes is this. Section 47 of Article 6 of the state constitution. Incorporation of religious denominations permitted instead of prohibited. So they're flipping it. And then no charter of incorporation shall be granted to any church or religious domination scratched out. Provisions may be made by general laws for securing the title to church property and for the sale and transfer thereof, so that it shall be held, used, or transferred for the purposes of such church or religious domination. Provisions may also be made by general laws. So they used to ban it, and now they're saying it's okay. Why can't churches just be non-profits? You can make your money, but you just can't profit. And they're like, no, we want to make money. We want to run our thing like McDonald's. We're just here to make money. That's the bottom line. It's like West Virginia doesn't want any pretense of their religious services just being about money. Of course it's about the money. It's always been about the goddamn money. That's all anybody cares about. Why is Tennessee going to bring back their Baptist ministers? Because it's all about the damn money. Why did Tennessee ban their Baptist ministers in the first place? That seems kind of crazy, doesn't it? Tennessee lawmakers want voters to eliminate state's ban on ministers serving in government. Again, Tennessee isn't adding freedoms. Kentucky's not adding freedoms. West Virginia's not adding freedoms. Arkansas, they are asking their people if they want to legalize marijuana. So Arkansas's actually got a nice little schizophrenia thing going on. Vermont, Oregon, Louisiana, they're all pretty much saying, get rid of that slavery question. Tennessee is asking the people about the slavery question. Kentucky already has a slavery question. Yeah, you can turn people into slaves in Kentucky if you just slap some criminal charge on them. And then you could turn, it's the new Jim Crow. It's new chain gangs that come from the new Jim Crow. So this is Andy Scher, April 5th, 2021 article. And it reads as such. Tennessee government's founders in 1796 didn't see much of a place for ministers of the gospel and priests when it came to their serving in the state's General Assembly, even inserting a provision in the first Tennessee Constitution specifically banning them from doing so. Keep your damn religion away from me and my family and my home. But now, nearly a half century after the U.S. Supreme Court in 1978 struck down the state's constitution's Article 9, Section 1 ban in a case brought by the Reverend Paul McDaniel of Chattanooga, modern-day lawmakers hope to put before voters in 2022 an amendment to delete the now toothless 225-year-old relic. Interesting. I want to go back to that question. Why did they ban the religious people? Tennessee, you guys used to be cool as shit back in the 1700s. Back in the 1700s, we used to be cool as shit. I wonder if I could find the reasons in time. Let's see here. Reasons why religious ministers can't serve in Tennessee legislature. Well, that's, checking. Okay, state Senate approves resolution that would let West Virginia churches register as corporations. Because that's what the problem is in West Virginia. The churches can't profit unlimited. The churches need to be able to profit unlimited, have unlimited amounts that they're allowed to profit. Bingo. It's not just about paying the bills and the water and this. It's about making that damn money. It's about getting $1 million in the bank and just sitting on it and then getting, some equities and then gambling on Wall Street. It's about letting the ministers gamble on Wall Street. Clergy bans on holding office by Middle Tennessee State University. The Tennessee Constitution of 1870 included a provision prohibiting clergy members from serving in the state legislature using the same justification as the provision included in the New York Constitution of 1777. God, New York was kicking ass in 1777. Tennessee was kicking ass in 1870. And then Tennessee just freaking tanked. We will not be intimidated. Let's see what it says here on Middle Tennessee State University. The First Amendment Encyclopedia, clergy bans on holding office. Wait, how'd it happen to? Supreme Court found Tennessee's prohibition unconstitutional. So there, it was basically the Supreme Court had already knocked it down, so it wasn't even law. McDaniel v. Patty, 1978. The New York State Constitution of 1777 included a provision prohibiting clergy from serving in public office because they are by their profession dedicated to the service of God and the cure of souls, and not be diverted from the great duties of their function. No, you are here to be just service to God. You're here to connect the people to God, not to take and write the laws of the. New York retained the provision when it revised its constitution in 1821, dropped it in the Constitution of 1846. Delaware, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, Missouri, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, and Virginia also had constitutional prohibitions on clergy serving in public office in the 1700s and the 1800s. What? Kentucky used to be cool back in the 17 and 1800s too. The Texas Constitution of 1845 stipulated that because ministers and priests should devote themselves to souls, none shall be eligible to the legislature. Some state constitutions identify clergy among a list of other persons ineligible to hold political office. For example, the Missouri Constitution of 1820 excluded people convicted of bribery, perjury, or other infamous crimes, as well as members of the clergy from public office. If you're convicted of bribery, perjury, other infamous crimes, or if you're a Christian, you can't get into this remarkable, ridiculous. I'm not for sure how to. Because, yeah, we got freedom of religion, but it's like the weakest and dumbest of the freedoms. And your freedom to be religious means stay over there with your religious stuff. Don't keep it away from me, my home, my family. Keep it to yourself. Keep your religion to yourself. Maryland added it to their 1867 Constitution. Only Maryland and Tennessee carried the provision into the 1900s. Supreme Court had knocked it down. In 1777, Paul McDaniel, a Baptist minister, attempted to run for a position as a delegate to the state's constitutional convention. A challenger, Selma Cash Patty, sued to keep McDaniel off the ballot. In a unanimous decision, the Supreme Court struck down the state constitution's provision. The justices did not, however, agree on why it was unconstitutional. Clerical bans were carried over from English law. Interesting. This came from goddamn that island. Parliament had justified excluding clergy from the House of Commons to ensure that a priest or deacon remained devoted to his sacred calling rather than such mundane activities that were appropriate to the member. Jefferson advocated the prohibition in his 1783 draft of a constitution for Virginia. James Madison disagreed. John Witherspoon, Madison's mentor and a president of the College of New Jersey, today's Princeton, had ridiculed state constitutional bans on clergy. So what? So that's fantastic. Goddamn. Kentucky and Tennessee, maybe y'all should go back to when you were great again, back in the 1700s. Tennessee and Kentucky would actually progress if they went back to the 1700s. Tennessee and Kentucky, just go back to the 1700s, see what they were doing, and just do exactly what they were doing. That's at least conservative. That's at least keeping the status quo going. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So, that's interesting. Is it not? You know, the founding, people want to say it's a Judeo-Christian founding, but we also had a lot of atheists founding the Establishment Clause. You have freedom to religion and freedom from religion. You don't have to take a religious oath or anything. If you do religious stuff, it's pretty much on your own account. And we've had a pretty decent secular system. People are allowed to be whatever religion they want to be. You've had, how many people were killing each other in Europe before we had the right to religion? So we, okay, Judeo-Christian values, but we also were founded on atheism too. We're also founded from freedom from religion. The Protestants were killing the Catholics in Europe. That's just, one denomination of Christianity killing another denomination of Christianity. That doesn't make, if Christians don't even know how to get along with each other, how is the rest of the world supposed to get along with Christians? Iowa reinstates the Second Amendment. Montana's got a brand new House seat. Personal reproductive autonomy. I think we should actually just ask this question to the Kentucky people after, whatever, to West Virginia, Arkansas. Do you believe in a right to privacy?